Nobody saw this coming. Not the analysts, not the developers, not the people who follow AI closer than anyone else on the planet. And honestly, not even the people who should have been paying the closest attention to what Microsoft was doing behind closed doors for the past 2 years. Because on June 2nd, 2026, in San Francisco, in front of a packed room at Build, the biggest developer conference Microsoft runs, Satya Nadella did not just announce new features. He did not announce a partnership. He did not announce that Microsoft would be adding another company's technology to Azure. He stood on that stage and announced something that the entire AI industry has been waiting to see if Microsoft could actually pull off. 7 artificial intelligence models, built entirely in-house from scratch, trained without copying a single other AI system. No OpenAI, no Anthropic, no Google. No distillation from any external model at all. Microsoft built their own frontier intelligence, and then they released all of it at once. Let that sink in for a second. This is the company that has spent billions of dollars investing in OpenAI. The company that made Sam Altman's technology available to hundreds of millions of people through Azure. The company that became the most powerful AI distributor in the world without ever owning the models at the core of it all. Everyone in the industry accepted that arrangement as permanent. Microsoft would fund, OpenAI would build. That was the deal. That was the relationship. And Microsoft just quietly, deliberately, methodically, over the span of 2 years of work that almost nobody was writing about, built their way out of that dependency entirely. This is not a tweak. This is not a refresh. This is Microsoft announcing to OpenAI, to Google, to Anthropic, to every competitor and every customer watching, we are not a distributor anymore. We are a builder. And the 7 models we are about to walk through are the proof. The compute used to train frontier AI models has increased by a factor of 1 trillion compared to the early days of this technology. 1 trillion. And Microsoft's own leadership says they expect another 1,000-fold increase on top of that in the next 3 years. That means the models being trained in 2028 and 2029 will make everything you're about to hear sound like version 1 of something much larger. And that is exactly what this announcement is. Version 1. From a company that has just committed publicly and irreversibly to being in the frontier model business for the long term. So let's go through every single one of these 7 models, because each one tells a different part of a story that the AI world needs to understand. The first and most significant model Microsoft announced is called MAI Thinking 1. If you pay attention to AI, you know that the reasoning model race has been the defining competition of the past 18 months. OpenAI launched their O series and showed the world that AI could do something fundamentally different from just predicting the next word. It could slow down, think through a problem in steps, check its own logic, and arrive at answers that required genuine multi-step intelligence. That capability, real reasoning, is what separates AI tools that feel useful from AI tools that change what work looks like entirely. Every major lab rushed to build their version. Google with Gemini, Anthropic with extended thinking inside Claude, Meta with their own research directions, and quietly, saying nothing publicly, Microsoft was building theirs. MAI Thinking 1 is a 35 billion active parameter model. But here's the thing about that number. It operates as a sparse mixture of experts architecture with approximately 1 trillion total parameters. The model does not activate everything at once. It routes each problem to the specialized parts of itself that are most relevant, which means it delivers performance that punches well above its active parameter count, while staying efficient enough to compete on price. The context window is 256,000 tokens. That means you can feed this model an entire software codebase, a complete legal contract library, a multi-100-page research document, and it will read and reason across all of it before it gives you a single word back. On AME 2025, one of the hardest mathematical reasoning benchmarks that exists, MAI Thinking 1 scores 97%. On AME 2026, it scores 94, 5%. These are not numbers you reach by being a good language model. These are numbers you reach by actually solving problems. On SWE Bench Pro, the software engineering benchmark that tests whether an AI can understand real code bases and fix real bugs the way a real engineer would, MAI Thinking 1 matches Claude Opus 4. 6. Not approaches, not nearly matches. Matches. But the number that will make every AI lab uncomfortable is this one. Microsoft ran blind human evaluations of MAI Thinking 1 against Claude Sonnet 4. 6. No branding, no hints. Completely independent raters from a company called Surge. Just 2 outputs, side by side, and a question. Which one is better? MAI Thinking 1 won. Preferred by independent human evaluators over one of the most trusted and widely used AI models in the world, on a model that Microsoft built entirely themselves, on their own data, in their own infrastructure, and priced in the mid-weight tier rather than the premium tier. Every one of those last details matters. The pricing is not an accident. Microsoft did not build a premium model that competes with premium models at premium prices. They built a model that sits at the mid-tier price point and performs at the top tier. That is how you take market share. Not by matching what already exists at the same cost, but by delivering more than what already exists at a lower one. And then there's the data story, which the enterprise world will care about more than any benchmark number. MAI Thinking 1 was trained from the ground up on clean, commercially licensed data. No web scraping of questionable provenance. No training on outputs from other AI models. No legal gray areas that will surface as liability in 3 years when your legal department asks where the model learned what it knows. Microsoft made a deliberate structural choice to build in a way that enterprises can actually deploy without spending 6 months in procurement review. In regulated industries, finance, healthcare, government, legal services, this is not a minor selling point. It is the selling point. AI Thinking 1 is currently in private preview on Microsoft Foundry. It is not fully open yet, but it is coming, and when it arrives at general availability, the conversation about which reasoning model you use at work will change. The second model is MAI Code 1 Flash, and this one did not wait for a preview. It is already live, rolling out to GitHub Copilot users right now, appearing in VS Code for developers who select it in the model picker. It is not coming. It is here. The name is precise. Flash means fast, efficient, cost-optimized. This is not a model trying to win every benchmark. It is a model trying to win every coding session, the actual day-to-day reality of writing software, where what matters is not whether an AI can pass an abstract math test, but whether it can understand your specific code base, suggest the right function, catch the bug you missed at 11 p.m., and do all of that without making you wait. MAI Code 1 Flash has 5 billion active parameters. Smaller model. That is intentional. At coding tasks at the scale, GitHub Copilot operates millions of suggestions every hour across millions of developers. You cannot run a 35 billion parameter model on every autocomplete. You need something tuned for the task, fast at the task, and cheaper per token than the alternatives. MAI Code 1 Flash outperforms Claude Haiku 4. 5 across multiple benchmarks designed for software engineering. And in GitHub Copilot's new token-based billing model, it is priced lower than Haiku 4. 5, better than Haiku, cheaper than Haiku, already in the tools you use. If you are a developer who uses GitHub Copilot, you may already be running on Microsoft's own model right now without knowing it. Because when you select Auto in the VS Code model picker, the system can route you to MAI Code 1 Flash. That routing detail reveals something important about Microsoft's strategy. They are not asking developers to consciously choose their model. They are embedding it into default behavior in the most used developer tool in the world. The model does not need to win a PR battle. It just needs to be the thing that works when you open VS Code. The third and fourth models are MAI Image 2, 5 and its Flash variant. And these two are doing something that sounds obvious, but has been genuinely difficult to achieve well until now. Most AI image models are generation models. Text in, image out. They are trained on that one direction, and they do it reasonably well. But ask them to edit an existing image, change just the background while preserving the subject, adjust the lighting without altering the composition, add an element to a product photo without destroying the original, and they fall apart. The two capabilities, generating and editing, have historically lived in separate models because they require different training approaches and different architectures. MAI Image 2, 5 does both, from a single model. And it is not doing both at a mediocre level as some compromise. It ranks second on Arena AI's image editing leaderboard with an ELO score of 1403. It ranks third on Arena AI's text-to-image generation leaderboard. It has surpassed Google's Nano Banana Pro on image editing benchmarks. It is already live in PowerPoint. It is rolling out to OneDrive. The Flash variant is available for developers on Microsoft Foundry who need high-volume, cost-sensitive image generation at scale. Think about what this actually means for the hundreds of millions of people who use Microsoft Office. The next time you are building a slide deck in PowerPoint and you want an AI-generated background image, that is Microsoft's model. The next time you want to take a product photo and edit the background without reshooting it, that is Microsoft's model. The next time a marketing team needs to generate 100 product image variations for an e-commerce campaign, the Flash variant handles that at a fraction of what Midjourney or DALL-E charges per image. The creative barrier just moved. Not because a new tool launched that people need to go find, but because the tool hundreds of millions of people already use every single day just became capable of world-class visual AI without anyone needing to install anything or pay for another subscription. The fifth and sixth models are MAI Voice 2 and its upcoming Flash variant, and Voice AI is one of those categories that gets less attention than it deserves because it is everywhere and invisible at the same time. Every time an AI assistant reads something back to you, every accessibility feature that narrates text for someone who cannot read it on a screen. every customer service bot that speaks instead of types, every language learning app that helps you hear correct pronunciation, every podcast-style summary that turns long-form content into audio you can absorb on a commute. All of it runs on voice models. And the quality of the voice, the naturalness of the pace, the right emphasis on the right word, the absence of the robotic hesitation, is the difference between something people use and something people immediately close. May I Voice 2 adds support for more than 15 new languages compared to its predecessor, brings new voice options, including styles that can convey different emotional tones, and is designed for the kind of real-time speech generation that live applications require. The Flash variant, coming soon, will deliver the same capabilities at lower latency and lower cost for developers who need to generate speech at scale. Think call centers, automated briefings, real-time translation interfaces. The breadth of language support is worth pausing on. More than 15 new languages on top of what MAI Voice 1 already supported. In a world where most premium AI tools are still overwhelmingly optimized for English and treat multilingual support as a secondary feature, Microsoft is making a structural bet that the next billion AI users are not going to be speaking English as a first language, and they are right. The seventh model is MAI Transcribe 1. 5. And this one comes with a claim that Microsoft is comfortable making directly. It is the best transcription model in the world right now. Not one of the best. Not best in class for enterprise. The best, full stop, as measured by the Fluor's benchmark, the industry standard evaluation for multilingual speech-to-text accuracy. MAI Transcribe 1. 5. Achieves state-of-the-art word error rate across 43 languages. It holds the top position on Fluor's across the full data set, and leads in 18 of the 43 languages it supports. It outperforms GPT-4o Transcribe. It outperforms Google's Scribe v2. It outperforms Gemini 3's transcription capabilities. 1 hour of audio in under 15 seconds. That is the speed figure Microsoft published. For comparison, the next best competitors are approximately 5 times slower. 5 times. If you are processing meeting recordings, legal depositions, medical consultations, customer calls, conference sessions, or any other high-volume audio at scale, the math on infrastructure cost just changed dramatically. And MAI Transcribe 1. 5 adds something called content biasing, which lets you prime the model with domain-specific vocabulary before it starts transcribing. Medical terms, legal jargon, technical acronyms specific to your industry, engineering terminology that a general-purpose transcription model would mangle. This is not a research feature. It is a direct answer to the #1 complaint that enterprise teams have had about AI transcription tools since they first appeared. That they are great at general conversation and terrible at anything specialized. Content biasing makes specialized transcription reliable, and that makes it deployable in the contexts where it matters most. MAI Transcribe 1. 5 is not a new product that needs to prove itself. It has already been running at scale inside Copilot, Bing, and Azure Speech. The benchmark numbers are backed by real-world deployment across hundreds of millions of Microsoft product interactions. This is what battle-tested looks like. Now step back from the individual models and look at what all 7 of them together are actually saying about Microsoft's direction, because the product announcements are only half the story. The strategic announcement underneath them is what the industry is really processing right now. Microsoft called this approach the hill climbing machine. Mustafa Suleyman, the head of Microsoft AI, used that phrase deliberately. In machine learning, hill climbing is an optimization strategy. You make incremental improvements, you evaluate constantly, you keep moving toward a better solution without gambling everything on one big leap. Microsoft is not betting that they can build one model that beats everyone and stays ahead forever. They are building a system, a methodology, an infrastructure, a data pipeline, and evaluation framework that produces better models continuously and predictably. The models they released at Build 2026 are the first output of that machine. They are explicitly not the last. Alongside all 7 models, Microsoft also announced they are building what they are calling a superintelligence lab. This is not a marketing term. It is an organizational commitment, a dedicated structure within Microsoft AI focused on the next phase of model development, the phase where that 1,000-fold compute increase becomes real capabilities. The implication is direct. Microsoft is not treating frontier model development as a one-time sprint to catch up with OpenAI. They are treating it as a permanent core function of the company. And here's the tension that makes this story genuinely interesting beyond the model benchmarks. Microsoft still has a relationship with OpenAI. They still use OpenAI models and some Copilot surfaces. They still run OpenAI's infrastructure on Azure. The investment and the partnership have not been declared over, but the renegotiation of the OpenAI agreement in April 2026, the one that ended exclusivity and revenue sharing, created the structural freedom for Build 2026 to happen. Microsoft can now ship its own models into its own products without breaching its agreements. And that is exactly what they did. What does it mean for OpenAI when their most powerful distribution partner is now also a competitor at the model layer? What does it mean for Anthropic, whose Claude models were being used extensively in Microsoft products before MAI Thinking 1 existed? What does it mean for every startup that assumed the foundation model layer was locked up by 3 or 4 incumbents with an unbridgeable head start? It means the market is more competitive than it has ever been. It means the incumbents can no longer count on being the only option inside the platforms that reach billions of users. And it means that price pressure on frontier AI capabilities, which was already intense, is about to get significantly more intense, because Microsoft can afford to price MAI models aggressively in order to capture developer mindshare on Foundry, which feeds Azure consumption, which feeds Microsoft's core cloud business. The models do not need to generate enormous direct revenue on their own. They need to be good enough and cheap enough that developers build on Foundry instead of building on OpenAI's Direct API or Google's Vertex AI. And if MAI Thinking 1 can match Claude Opus 4. 6 on coding tasks while pricing below the midpoint of the premium tier. That calculation is easy for every development team running a cost-sensitive operation. There is one more dimension to this announcement that most coverage has not given enough attention. Agent 365. Microsoft did not just release models. They released a governance layer for AI agents that is unlike anything else available at enterprise scale today. Agent 365 integrates Microsoft's Entra Identity services, Intune device management, Defender threat protection, and Purview data governance into a single control plane, specifically designed for managing AI agents the way you manage user accounts and devices. Why does this matter? Because the survey data is damning. 44% of enterprise AI leaders say they only have moderate confidence that AI agents can act autonomously without human oversight. Half of enterprise organizations still rely primarily on public tools like ChatGPT rather than deploying purpose-built AI systems. The reason is not that they do not want better AI. The reason is that they cannot get their security teams and their compliance teams and their legal teams to sign off on deploying an AI agent that operates on company data without a clear audit trail, clear access controls, and clear rollback capabilities. Agent 365 is Microsoft's answer to all of those blockers simultaneously. When an AI agent does something unexpected, you can see what it did, when it did it, which identity it used, which data it accessed, and what policy it violated. You can lock it out the same way you lock out a compromised user account. You can audit it the same way you audit any other system in your environment. This is not about making AI feel safe. It is about making AI auditable, accountable, and compliant with the frameworks that regulated industries actually operate under. If you're trying to understand why Microsoft's enterprise customers will eventually standardize on Microsoft's AI agents rather than assembling a patchwork of third-party tools, Agent 365 is the answer. Not the benchmarks, the governance. And then there is Microsoft Discovery, now generally available, which puts everything we have talked about into a different context entirely. Discovery is Microsoft's agentic AI platform for scientific research, built on Azure, using the full MAI model stack, and already deployed in production at companies including BHP, Syensqo, and GSK. BHP is using it to find copper leaching solutions in months instead of years. GSK is accelerating drug discovery. Syensqo is running semiconductor research with it. When you put MAI Thinking 1's mathematical reasoning capabilities inside an environment designed specifically for scientific research, you get something that is not just a better research assistant. You get a system that can compress the timeline of scientific discovery, not in theory, in production, with real results, with real companies reporting real outcomes. The compute trajectory that Microsoft described, the 1 trillion-fold increase in training compute that got us to today, and the 1,000-fold increase expected in the next 3 years, is not just a statistic. It is a map of where this is going. Every year, the models get smarter. Every year, the capabilities expand into domains that were untouchable the year before. Every year, the question of what AI can and cannot do shifts further toward what it can. Microsoft has now built the infrastructure, the models, the governance layer, the developer platform, and the scientific application layer to ride that curve on their own terms. They are not riding OpenAI's roadmap anymore. They are building their own. So what does this mean for you, the person watching this, using these products, working in an industry that is being reshaped by this technology? It means that the AI your company uses is about to change underneath you without asking permission. The transcription that runs in your Teams meetings, the image generation inside the PowerPoint you opened this morning, the code suggestions in VS Code, the reasoning capability inside Copilot that helps you draft that long email. All of it is migrating from models Microsoft borrowed to models Microsoft owns. And the migration will happen at the speed that Microsoft decides to move, not the speed any external partner permits. For most people, that will feel like things getting better invisibly. Faster responses, more accurate transcriptions, better images, smarter suggestions. The label on the model will not change in the UI. The experience will just improve. For the AI industry, what just happened at Build 2026 is the clearest signal yet that the era of foundation model consolidation is over before it even fully arrived. The window when 3 or 4 labs could plausibly lock up the frontier has closed. A company with 2 billion users, the world's most widely used developer tools, the largest enterprise software footprint on the planet, its own custom AI silicon, and the engineering talent to build competitive frontier models from scratch. That company just decided to use all of those advantages simultaneously. 7 models, built from nothing, competitive at the top of every category they entered, available today or in preview or coming within weeks, priced to take market share, governed in a way that unlocks enterprise deployment, embedded in tools that reach hundreds of millions of people who will never have to choose to use them because they already do. Microsoft just shocked the entire AI world. And in a few years, when the Superintelligence Lab produces the next generation of MAI models on hardware that does not exist yet, running on infrastructure that has not been built yet, with capabilities that we are not able to fully imagine yet, people will look back at Build 2026 as the moment Microsoft stopped watching the AI revolution and started leading it. This is version 1. The hill climbing machine is just getting started.